lot about open source as a way to encourage collaboration, build shared projects for the public good, but more and more products are not built only from code, but from data. The Digital Commons is data's version of open source, a landscape of open, publicly curated digital resources from street maps to corporate data to wikis. We've been trying to get our next speaker on stage for a couple of years now, and the timing just never worked. So I am thrilled to introduce Matti Schneider, who worked in Ada Lab, the same place Laure Lichessy works, and co-founded a state startup accelerator in France, and then he spent a year traveling the world to learn about the many ways public innovation is happening. Today, he's the director of product and collaboration at OpenFisca, which lets users model government rules, calculate the costs and benefits of legislation, and effectively turn law into code, where it can be analyzed by and for the people. Please welcome Matti Schneider. We finally got you here.
Well, almost there, right? At least on the video.
To be able to say hello in person. I'll pass it off to you. I know we don't have a lot of time and you're talking more this afternoon, but welcome. It is great to see you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. I'm here to tell you that in order to use technology to make society better for all, there are more options than creating a B Corp or finding a niche within government. I know that full well for having tried both paths and having both succeeded and failed in each. My name is Matti Schneider. 12 years ago, I built a web application to reduce the carbon footprint of campuses within an NGO. I then joined a public startup focused on improving the quality of service in public healthcare. I was then lucky enough to join the public sector in the French Prime Minister Open Data Task Force, ETALAB. There, I co-founded the French state startups incubator beta.gouv.fr, in which I led several high-impact product teams, the main one being a benefits assessment tool, MEZED, which helped up to 12,000 daily users access their rights. I then worked with several government innovation agencies across the world, New Zealand, New Caledonia, Polynesia. Having seen the limitations of the public sector in acting for the public good, I now work on transitioning two services into digital commons. OpenFisca, which indeed makes tax and benefits law computable, and Open Terms Archive, which aims at rebalancing the power between big tech and public actors by measuring all the changes in the rules they edict. And I want to tell you why, as government innovation folk, we should aim at supporting digital commons and creating more of them. Okay, thank you, Matti, but what are digital commons then? Well, digital commons are first and foremost digital services. Think of app or a web app, anything more than just a database or just source code. It's actually more than just a technical product, as it also includes the humans that make that product usable. They are social and technical systems that they deliver value to humans through interaction with software. Okay, that's a fancy definition, but basically it's all the stuff we rely on. How did you plan your last trip, likely with Google Maps or Citymapper if you stayed within a city? How did you last chat with friends or even coworkers, likely through WhatsApp, Snapchat, or even Signal? How did you last learn about a new topic, likely through Wikipedia or YouTube? All of these services we have started to rely on. And which risks do we take when we rely on infrastructure that has become critical for us and that we take for granted? Too often, we realize that only when they disappear, like, for example, when all Facebook systems went down last month. But beyond disappearing, there are also other risks that exist in our usage. The rules of the usage can be changed at any time. Did you have a say in the number of ads you saw on YouTube since it was bought back by Google? Or in the data exchange services between WhatsApp and Facebook that were enacted in May 2021? In any of these critical service infrastructure your personal and professional life is built upon? No, because they are owned and controlled by private entities. The search for money is necessary for such actors. Not only for those that seek to maximize profit for their shareholders, most nonprofits also fall under this category, as small volunteer-driven teams can lose interest in the product they are developing. Actually, both are at risk of bankruptcy. Privately owned and operated services are often great to use and deliver good value since they rely on adoption to get money, but they also have an interest in locking you in or in changing their rules to maximize their revenue. For some services that are of lower level, not directly directed to the users, the impact of the choices can be even stronger, as they would impact the whole ecosystem. That was the case, for example, when the Google Maps developer API changed its rules in June 2018, suddenly decreasing massively the threshold at which the usage became paid for. All of a sudden, a huge part of the maps on the global internet just started disappearing. So do we have any alternative to that? Traditionally, the private governance system is opposed to public governance. And digital public services that target country-specific elements can be really good indeed. For example, think about the PIX payment system in Brazil, which enables immediate money transfer, or Saúde do Uruguai, the open source healthcare infrastructure in Uruguay, or Realme.nz, the identity provider in New Zealand. But we can also probably all agree that there are many examples of poor quality public digital services. Even when they are of high quality, actually, they might be short-lived. If you recall the example I gave earlier about that benefits assessment tool helping over 12,000 users, it clearly had demonstrated its value. Yet it was still shut down by the government, which preferred a more traditional administrative organization over the needs of its users. Such political decisions, or national priorities, or even legal restrictions, which might be in place for very good reasons, are as many limitations for the impact of digital services, especially for those that are of global interest, that would go beyond the borders of the country that built them. It takes a rare political will and often exceptionally efficient private-public partnerships to make such services disseminate more widely. In fact, beyond the Estonian X-Roads, which took so many years to come out and be disseminated, I have a hard time thinking of good examples. So then, what would be a viable alternative to the private system to use technology to make society better for all, and not just for citizens of one country or for one administration? How can we build and use infrastructure where we can trust that the rules won't be changed by surprise? With commons governance. In that case, all the decisions are taken democratically by users and contributors defining their own rules within their community. These rules are defined only to maximize reusability and impact and to prevent reappropriation, or so-called enclosures. That is, the ability for one actor of the ecosystem to benefit the most from the value, capture it, and drain it from other actors. That makes sure that all the community members have their needs fulfilled and covered, and maintains their interest. That is how global services that have transformed personal lives and businesses alike have emerged. Think of how Wikipedia has changed our relationship to creating and reading knowledge, or how OpenStreetMap has transformed our relationship with geographical data, not only enabling new businesses to thrive on this data, but also enabling faster emergency reaction, especially in rural areas or in countries that did not have geographical data publicly available. Open Food Facts is now going to do the same thing with nutritional data, probably enabling much more accountability in the whole food processing chain. And I hope that Open Fiscal will achieve the same for the growing rules as code ecosystem, enabling a better understanding of which laws and reforms lead to more social justice across the world. To recap, we've seen that there is a third way to deliver digital services that is more respectful of its users and more able to attract contributors by giving them more say in the rules. I don't believe that all digital services should be operated as commons, but I believe it is crucial for all actors of the digital ecosystem who work for the general interest to be fully aware of this option, and maybe to envision transitioning some of the best-in-breed public services that maybe some of you are operating right now that could impact society beyond their original target group to such a governance. Actually, it's about letting some control go in order to benefit more people, so that services that were built with one country in mind, one set of citizens in mind, could then actually benefit the entire humanity. I also believe it is time for a commons incubator, some sort of institution that would foster this sort of governance. It could be about helping bring private or public digital services into the commons. It could also be about supporting those that already exist, the big names that I mentioned, but also some smaller ones, and if possible, creating, supporting the emergence of entirely new ones based on user needs. So that was a very short and high-level introduction to Digital Commons. I hope it made you curious enough to attend the deeper dive that I will be offering in 2 hours in that same channel. That session will be called Building Digital Commons and will give some operational suggestions. Since we are all distributed across time zones, I cannot give you a precise time, but it will be in about 1 hour and 55 minutes. And there we will go through the different constraints that should be applied on the rules that enable this democratic decision-making process. If you cannot attend, you will find more information on commun.mathischneider.fr in French or commons.mathischneider.fr with a full white paper on digital commons. The English version, should be noted, is still in the course of translation. So some pages might still be in French, but if you check it again in 1 or 2 weeks, then it should probably be all available as well in English. Thank you for your attention and hopefully see you in 2 hours.